Alright guys, so today I'm going to make a video that you probably won't care about if you watch my channel normally, because this is electronics related. So I've been building a lot of electronics projects lately, and one thing that gets really expensive is certain ICs and big dip chips like this, like microcontrollers and stuff. Now usually you're not going to find the microcontroller that you want on an old PCB like this, but you might find, op amps or something like that that you want to salvage, or you accidentally soldered your chip backwards, even though you should be using an IC socket, but you soldered it in backwards and you got to remove it. How do you do that? How do you remove these big chips from printed circuit boards? Now, I don't usually do big ones like this, which I did remove from a microwave. This is actually a microcontroller, but it's so old, there is no programming software, nothing like that out there for it. So it's just sitting on my desk looking pretty. I didn't want to throw it away, and I kind of wanted some practice with these techniques as to how to get these off. So, alright, let's go ahead and go over a couple things you're going to want. You're definitely going to want a pair of tweezers. I mean, it's not extremely necessary, but I find it necessary, and I'll show you why. A solder sucker is a must. You cannot get away without this, or yeah, at least not easily. Technically, I suppose you could, but this is going to make your life way easier. Again, solder, cheap solder, it really doesn't matter. Solder's pretty cheap anyway. This stuff will also make your life a lot easier. I know it seems kind of counterproductive to put solder on something that you're removing, but it makes it a lot easier to heat it up, so that's not bad. Also, a good pair of pliers, and of course you're going to want a soldering iron of some sort. I didn't plan very well, and the camera tripod is right where I have the wire of my soldering iron. Anyway, so you're going to definitely want a soldering iron, because you're not going to get anywhere without it. I mean, I have taken a Dremel to get chips off before, but that's just because I didn't care about the board, and I didn't care about the chip. I just wanted it off the board. So this is what we're going to go ahead and do. So I guess we'll start with this Toshiba chip up here in the top right. If we flip over the board, this is a pretty easy circuit board to see, because it's not like a trillion layers, and there's not like, a trillion possibilities. Some of the newer ones that have all these SMD chips, like this one. This is actually a really old board. It's surprising to see an SMD chip like that on there. So these are pretty small, so these are fairly easy. Basically, to start out, what we're just going to do, and I'll go ahead and show you. Of course, what's the point in having a tutorial if I don't show you what I'm doing? So usually I'll just go through with my unsteady hand and put a little bit of new solder on each one, and I would use a fume extractor, because especially really old solder, it's not good for you to breathe in all these fumes that you see coming off, or wear a respirator or something, although a fume extractor is way more convenient. This ugly little wire here, I don't even know if I got that one or not. I'm not very good at soldering and looking through a camera at the same time. It's not exactly the easiest task. Alright, so I put a little bit of new solder on each of the pins. It really doesn't need to be pretty, because you're about to remove it. Indeed, speaking of removing things, sorry, my desk is a huge mess right now. I'm going to go and remove this wire, because I don't need it. There's no reason for it to be there. I'm not even quite sure why they have jumper wires on this board. I suppose they were too lazy to come up with a layout that didn't need them. So if you don't know how to use a solder pump or solder sucker or whatever you want to call it, solder removing device, you could also use solder wick or any other solder removing technique, but you do need to remove it. It's not going to be like salvaging capacitors, where you can just